Man, it's like good ain't good enough, so you gotta be great, and I'ma do whatever it takes, giving you my all, every take, play filled to the top, won't sever my fate, can't sit around and...
Alright, what's up guys? So today we're going to talk about deadlifts and how to set up for one. So there's two types of deadlifts, both conventional and sumo. The one you prefer is one based on preference, and then two based on like your body type. Usually pick whichever one's easier. You don't want to make it harder than it has to be. If you do make it harder than it has to be, by all means, hats off to you, but I'm not doing that. So a lot of people with sumo, they typically choose a sumo setup, which is, the wider setup. When you have longer legs, you want to make the bar path travel a shorter distance. And then likewise, if you have shorter legs, you want to choose a conventional setup, makes it easier. But at the end of the day, it is your preference, ultimately what you choose. So first thing to cover is footwear. Typically I do them barefoot. One of two reasons. Or you can wear Chuck Taylors, but basically it's to give your foot a firm place to push through. So with tennis shoes or running shoes like this, it's not really a firm footing, and plus you're elevated off the ground. So again, you're making it harder than it has to be, basically doing a deficit deadlift. You can't technically compete barefoot, so I have a pair of Cinderella slippers that I use. These are great for sumo. I'll show you in a little bit to keep my feet from sliding out. But again, if you do conventional, you can do barefoot, Chuck Taylors, or any other sort of flat-soled hard shoe. Alright, so first let's walk through the conventional setup. Now I personally don't do conventional. I've messed with it in the past. It's not my favorite. I definitely hate it, but I think I know how to do it. So anyway, basically, you walk up to the bar, your feet are roughly shoulder width apart. Now, when it comes to your feet placement under the bar should basically be in the middle of your foot. So basically that's your setup. Feet are, for me personally, slightly turned out, so you kind of take the weight off your feet, back on your heels, and when you squeeze your cheeks together, you squeeze your glutes, you kind of feel where your feet in the natural position. And then basically, I usually take one deep breath before descending into the setup. So I prefer, when it comes to grip, I prefer the alternating. Some people do hook. It's up to you, personal preference. I can't do a very heavy amount of weight with this. I usually have to use wraps. Can't compete with wraps, so I just choose to do the alternating grip. But basically, fingers go on the rings. And then when you're down in position, what you want to do is you're going to sit back on your heels, so when the weight's lighter, you should almost fall backwards. And then the other thing you want to think about is when you grab the bar in that position, think about breaking it across your shins. It'll engage your lats and engage your back muscles. So go through the whole motion real quick. So basically that's essentially the setup. So when you first start out, it's kind of harder when you have a lighter weight because the bar is a little bit closer to the ground. So ideally you can start with 135, but if you can't, understand it's going to be a little bit more challenging just because the bar with a 35-pound plate, 25-pound, etc., 10-pound, is going to be a lot lower to the ground. It's going to be a little bit more of a bar path to travel. So again, going through the setup, feet shoulder width apart, slightly turned out. The bar goes halfway through the middle of your foot. Take usually one big deep breath. Grab the bar, grab it as hard as you can. Try and break it across your shins. Sit back. And that's essentially the setup. Then real quick, when it comes to breathing, make sure you brace your abs. So as the weight gets heavier, you typically will put a belt on, and as that belt comes, you push against that, use your abdominal wall to create pressure, helps keep your back straight, keep your form well. And that's essentially the setup for the conventional deadlift. So the other deadlift setup is sumo. So definitely for this one, I personally do actually recommend slippers. I used to do them barefoot, but when I'll show you what the setup is, your feet start to slide out when you're in socks. So I got these slippers online. I'll put the link in the description box. They're like 19 bucks from Amazon. So anyway, so when it comes to the sumo, this is the wider stance. So I personally like it. I'm a little bit taller. My legs are a little bit longer. You can call it cheating. You guys can duke it out in the comments below. See who's right. But so this is a little bit wider setup. So when it comes to this, you want to place your feet out as wide as they can be without actually setting the weight on your foot. Now they don't have to be out totally wide. You can kind of play with where you feel comfortable. It does come to personal preference. But two things, your feet should be turned out pretty much as wide as they can go, so they're almost parallel with the bar. And then the second thing to make sure is the shin is actually touching your bar. If your shin and the bar aren't touching, you're kind of having to reach over a little bit. Again, it's going to make it a little bit harder on yourself. And as the weight gets heavier, it's going to be just more prone to injury and be kind of rounding out your back. So if your feet are set like that, you should almost envision splitting the floor. So that's the cue you want to envision in your mind, is spreading the floor between your legs. So pushing your left foot and your right foot apart. So when it comes to grabbing the bar, again, I prefer the alternating grip. It's where I'm the strongest in. So again, take a big deep breath. And then I grab right inside of where the knurling ends, so right on the inside of the smooth part of the bar. Usually I put one finger on the rougher part outside of the ring. And then what you want to do is you want to essentially envision sitting back. So the bar will automatically come up off the ground, and you take, so almost fell there. So you take one big deep breath, you grab the bar, you squeeze it, you want to pull the slack out of the bar so you can kind of hear it. That's what people would refer to as slack. So make sure you pull that out of the bar. Pull that out of the bar. So people refer to that again as pulling the slack out of the bar. So when you pull the slack out of the bar, that'll engage your lats and make your back tight, which will help keep you safe. So going through the motions real quick. And that's essentially how you do a sumo deadlift. So again, running through everything top to bottom. Your feet are wide, your shins touching the bar. You take a deep breath, use the grip that you prefer. Pull the slack out of the bar, it engages your lats. Brace your abs, and then pull. You want to envision spreading the floor and sitting back. So one more time.
This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard. Whether it's the beat of the mic, he feels so unlike everybody else, alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know him. But fuck him, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure he's...
If you guys have any questions, you can leave a comment below, or you can email me right here. More than happy to help you guys. Happy deadlifting.